If you have seen my latest episode of Macy's Parade Ranked the Songs, where I talked about this past year's Macy's Parade, you might have saw near the end of the video that I had a major, big, massive criticism discussion of the special performances that has been going on since 2022. I have talked about that a bit in that video, where I think it feels like NBC is trying to take over the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and try to almost think that this, I feel like I'm watching either NBC's Thanksgiving Day Parade or the Rockefeller Christmas tree lighting at Macy's this time, instead of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And as we have been kind of growing in a bit, we started with 1 in 2022, 2 in 23, 3 in 24, and then 4 last year. I am worried we might be going to 5, or even more so, that this could be the massive downfall of the parade. But NBC really is kind of almost ruining that with the special performances. And in the end of that video, I had announced a video that I would do a what if video. What if I get to choose who to perform in the 100th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year? If I was in charge of it, like if I made the decisions on who to perform in the parade for the special anniversary event, of course, that will be taking place on Thanksgiving Day this November. And that's what this video is all about. I have a list of a couple of celebrities that I would love to see. Like, I guarantee not all of them are going to be making an appearance, but if you want to honor the 100th parade, you got to bring back a couple of celebrities that have performed in the years past to make a big presence again here in honor for the anniversary. Now, I will state this, that there are going to be 2 kind of rules, I would say. Well, not really rules. Now, there are 2 things I also would like to bring up that will be kind of a thing. Obviously, the big thing is I am not counting any Broadway musicals on this one at the moment, because we really do not know. But I really wish they would go back to like 4 for this year, hopefully, and be all pre-parade acts, including the Rockettes. But I have a unique idea I also have for the Rockettes as well. But I will also, with the exception of, I think, 1% or something like that, I don't want to bring any celebrities that had made a recent appearance this decade in the Macy's Parade that has appeared already a couple of times before, that already did make a reappearance this decade. Anyone that did make an appearance like in the 80s, maybe even 70s, 90s, and 2000s, and 2010s that have yet to perform in this decade, with the exception of some occasions, because I already have 5 of them, technically 4 that I could say that will most likely be coming into this year's parade. This is not 100% confirmation, by the way. I think these 4 of them are looking like would be a very likely candidate. So like, I will not mention celebrities that have made past appearances reappear again, like Sierra, who was appeared last year, Chicago, Kool and the Gang. And like any celebrities that had already made another appearance in this decade so far, I'm not going to be counting them. And I'm also not going to count any new artists at the moment, because we really do not know. I really wish they would bring in a lot of people back for this historical event, bring back a lot of the celebrities that performed in the years past to do it again for this anniversary celebration. This is just my assumption, so like, and also another thing is they had at least made a big notable appearance in the parade, or somebody who has not shown in a long time that really could make a massive impact, to say the least. So let's start up with the most likely ones that will be appearing. I think there are 2 that are obviously, I think are most likely going to be a guarantee. One of them is, one is 100%, maybe one is an 85%. The 100% is obviously going to be the cast of Sesame Street, of course. Duh. I mean, they appear every year, so let's see. Hopefully they can actually get to perform on their own. I mean, it would be amazing. I know a lot of people would love to see, like, for the parade's anniversaries occasion, to bring back a lot of the former actors who played a lot of from the show, the human actors that are still living at the moment, to come back to perform for the 100th parade occasion. But I don't think Netflix, since they kind of technically now do Sesame Street now with Children's Television Workshop and PBS, I don't think they're going to do that, but they could really do a lot more Almo in front of our faces. The 85% I think will probably maybe happen for at least an NBC connection is Jimmy Fallon and his band The Roots. I mean, they have been a favorite since 2009, and it kind of makes sense for them to show up for the 100th parade. Next, these next three here I have are potential candidates that might likely show up in the parade's anniversary because of their frequent appearances they've had. But I might be wrong on this, but I could almost see this maybe legit happening. So keep in mind, this is not 100% confirmation. This is just a total guess. But remember, if I would get to choose it. So if I would say who would be the most likely to appear, other than Sesame Street and Jimmy Fallon and The Roots, I would say for the first one, a bit of a Wicked reunion. And not the movie stars. I'm talking about the OG Wicked reunion of Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. Now, I know they kind of had a little reunion in a cameo in the first Wicked movie, and they have made a couple appearances in the past parades. And Kristen Chenoweth was actually supposed to perform in 2021, I believe, but we do not know what happened, why she ended up having to miss the parade. But I would love to see, like, a little Wicked reunion between the two. Maybe not performing an actual song from the musical, but some sort of duet they can do. I mean, we have, like, a big, massive duet last year with Colby Calais and Gavin DeGraw. I know there was Shaggy and Ray Vaughn and Mickey Guyton and Drew Baldridge. So if we want to see more of a collaboration duo, the Wicked reunion kind of really makes the most sense. Another group that I think will probably most likely show up, if I would say would be chosen, would be Pentatonix. Now, interesting enough, I thought Pentatonix was going to perform in last year's parade because they had a new Christmas album out that same year. But they didn't. I'm guessing their touring schedule, I'm probably assuming that could be the reason why they didn't show up. But I think they would have to show up here because they have been making frequent appearances and they have all done Christmas songs. And then one person I think will maybe show up because I have not seen him in the parade since 2011. And he has written a couple of original songs for the Macy's Parade in the past. And I'm talking about Michael Feinstein. I would have him be part of the 100th parade as well. And then as for the Radio City Rockettes, I want to mention here, obviously I would have them be the last pre-parade actor after like the 4 or 5 Broadway musical pre-parade acts, depending on how long the route is. But I would not also have them perform once, but twice. I would have them, of course, and you can say 2.5. The first one obviously would be the last pre-parade act, and I would have them welcome the 100th parade to Herald Square with the NBC Today Show announcer announcing the arrival of the 100th parade. But I would also have them also be the finale, where they get to do what they did in 2019, their song Sleigh Ride. Not also for them to sing, but I would have the Macy Santa Claus, when he arrives at Herald Square, also to sing that song as well as the big grand finale. That would be amazing to have Macy Santa Claus singing with the Radio City Rockettes doing that number. That would be amazing, but if I would choose that to be the big finale for Santa's arrival. With the Rockettes doing Sleigh Ride and Macy's Santa Claus singing along. And I would even say in general, I would love to see, if that doesn't happen, I would still want to see Macy's Santa Claus giving like a big speech for the 100th parade. Now for the possibilities. Now, these ones could be very, very possible that they might show up here. If Macy's really wants to honor the 100th parade, bring back a lot of artists that have performed in years past to bring in a pretty notable occasion. In fact, I think I have, I would say maybe a top 8, I would say, that I could see a top 8 that I think should be in the 100th parade. So kind of similar to my if I would, like, my biggest balloon wish list video that I have done. Now, I am a little bit rusty on the 70s and the 80s, especially the 80s, because 70s you don't have a lot on YouTube, but the 80s I am definitely a bit rusty on that one. So I'll start this up kind of with a big star from the 70s that did appear also recently. It was not this decade, but in 2018. I would do Diana Ross. I mean, to bring in the 70s aspect to the parade with it. I mean, remember she wore that iconic green outfit on top of the Big Apple float? And then another one I would choose to bring back to the parade, if he can still sing, and that is Joey Lawrence. Now, if you watched the parades throughout the 80s and the 90s, Joey Lawrence was a big thing throughout those years. Like, he obviously was a little child star in the 80s, and then his brothers, Andy and Matthew, came along throughout the 90s. And then, like, that was the last time in 96. And then Joey has not performed in the parade since 2002. That was his last appearance he has made. And I would choose him to come back to the parade, maybe even bring his brothers, Matthew and Andy, if they can still sing, or just Joey singing alone on that one. So I would bring him back. And, like, I think his notable child appearance was in 1984. And speaking of 1984... if I would choose somebody from that decade to come back to the parade, is one of the original members of the boy band Menudo. You might know him as Ricky Martin. Ricky Martin obviously did perform back in the 84 parade with the Menudo group, and I would actually bring him back, and he might do his iconic hit and Livin' La Vida Loca. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of classic songs been playing in recent parades recently. I mean, like, Jules, You Were Meant For Me, and, like, Shaggy's Boombastic, It Wasn't Me, and Angel, Kool and the Gang Celebration, Wars, Why Can't We Be Friends, The Temptations, My Girl. They've been, and even Foreigners with I Want to Know What Love Is, and Cold as Ice. So, if I would bring Ricky Martin back to the parade for his second time, after he did with the Menudos back in the 80s, I could have him do Livin' La Vida Loca, or another big song he has done. And then in the 80s, I have somebody that, not really big, but she was pretty young when she performed back in the parade. I think it was 86 she did. And that is Amy Grant. And she was 26 years old at the time when she performed back in the 86 parade. And it would be pretty nice to have, like, an artist from the 80s who was pretty young to come back decades later for a special occasion. In like, 86 was actually the 60th anniversary parade. So bring her back, like, 40 years later. That would be a pretty nice homage to her from that year's parade. And then coming into a little bit of the 90s, right now I only have two candidates. Barry Manilow, I would have him bring him back. I know he's doing a recent tour. And the original Broadway Peter Pan of the 90s, Kathy Rigby. She could potentially maybe do an actual Peter Pan number like she did, maybe do Neverland again for the third time, like she did in 1990 or 97, or even another Peter Pan number she did back then when she was on Broadway. So I would definitely bring back the 90s Broadway Peter Pan, Kathy Rigby, to the parade. And then I would bring in also back in the soprano saxophonist himself, Kenny G, who has only made, I believe, 2 Macy's parades. 94, where he did Winter Wonderland, and 25 years ago in 2001, where he did his rendition of Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow. So I can have him come back to the parade. You need to bring in an instrumental artist. I also did consider John Tesh, but I think it was his age, I think, that kind of prevented me. I know, like, Dionne Warwick is, like, I think is in her 80s right now, and she did perform back in 2023. So John Tesh could be a possibility, but out of the 2 instrumental ones, I went with Kenny G at the moment. And then another person, like Amy Grant, who is and Barry Manilow, that are singer-songwriter composers. Somebody who has not appeared in the parade since 2010, Ann Hampton Callaway. She has made 4 Macy's parades in 99 when she did the Broadway Cast of Swing, 2000 on her own with One Brick at a Time, 2003 with Peter Nero, and then 2010 with Yes, Virginia, There's a Santa Claus. So You could have her do that song again, or another song she's pretty notable for doing. So I would definitely bring in Hampton Callaway back. And then we come into the American Idol feed. There were a couple of decisions of who would I choose out of all the people that performed on American Idol to come back to the parade. Which one I could have gone with. There was obviously the Season 1 runner-up, Justin Guarini. There was Season 2's winner, Ruben Studdard. Season 2 runner-up, Clay Aiken. Carrie Underwood is obviously a big one, and she's also a current judge on the recent ABC version of American Idol. But she did perform in 2021, so I'm gonna put her on the not ready yet at the moment. Kelly Clarkson makes the most sense because she did perform back in 2018, and it would make sense because her talk show is on NBC, but it was just announced the show is going to be ending so she can focus on more on her kids after the passing of their father. So I also decided I think maybe her personal life might prevent her from performing in the parade, I would say. There was David Archuleta, Jordan Sparks, but she already performed this decade, so I did consider her, but since she performed already in this decade, I had to take her out. So there was obviously one answer, and I think with her kind of massive resurgence thanks to her starring in the musical movie adaptation of The Color Purple, I would bring Fantasia Barrino back after she performed back in 2004. Maybe she could do maybe an actual song from the Color Purple movie, like Superpower I or something like that, the credit song, or any other songs from a recent album. Like, I know that she really wants to get more into the acting industry after she was asking a lot of advice from fellow actresses at an actress roundtable. But if you want to bring in somebody from the, Fox days of American Idol back to the parade, Scotty McCreery is also another option, but I went with Fantasia Barrino instead. And then we get a little bit of nostalgia. How about Ali and AJ? And if you have seen if you follow me on Instagram, I have been starting doing a Macy's Parade Song of the Week that I do every Wednesday on Instagram, with the exception of non-Christmas songs and the songs that were my number one in the Rank the Song series, at least from my lifetime from 2000 through 2025. Rush from Ali and AJ was actually the first parade song of 2026 for me for the week, so that was pretty nice. And with them having kind of been getting a lot of more nostalgicness vibes, I think, and how they had made a little bit more frequent appearances in recent years, I think Ali and AJ would be a great choice. Now, these next four I do have on the list, but I probably would say no if NBC wants them to do a special performance. And there are four female artists, pop artists specifically, that could be a possibility that NBC might do the dumb way and do a special performance on them instead of them having on floats. The four I'm talking about are Hilary Duff, Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande, and Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, all four of them are kind of big right now, because with Hilary Duff announcing just recently a new tour, Miley Cyrus, obviously, with the 20th anniversary of Hannah Montana, and I believe she celebrated her, I think it was her 16th birthday 20 years ago. Ariana Grande, with the recent resurgence of Wicked for Good, and her Wicked co-star Cynthia Erivo, Grande could do a special performance. And then Sabrina Carpenter is one of the big pop recording artists right now, and she's going to be the main guest star of the Muppet Show revival special. Hopefully a pilot to a potential revival, hopefully. And I'm very curious to see that. And she just had a big tour, of course. But I would turn them down if NBC would request them to do a special performance. And if they do, I would say no. I would only have them in the parade and not at Herald Square only. Yes, they might have a lot more security in their presence because they're big recording artists. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't count Rihanna in this, because she would be probably much of a no-no in today's standards. But I could almost see Hillary, Miley, Ariana, or Sabrina might do it again for the 100th parade, but only they would be in a float and not a special performance. And then the next one I have, going back a little bit into the 80s, I do have the man behind the song God Bless the USA with Lee Greenwood. Kind of almost somewhat of a way to honor America's 250th birthday, but I have somebody else that I think that should be in the 100th parade. But if not his iconic song like he did back in 1985, he might do another American hit other than that one. Alright, so now for my top 8. The 8 artists I think that should perform in the 100th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now, my number 6 option actually at the moment is not, it's more of a either-or scenario, like between like 4 different groups, but I can't really choose, I think, no, 5 I believe, but that would be a little bit more explanation when you get to that number, but I'm confident in like, these 8 need to be in the 100th parade, or they should. Need or should, to be precise. If I would choose who to perform at the 100th parade, I would definitely go with these 8. So starting up at number 8, I kind of just mentioned a little bit about that with Sabrina Carpenter with the Muppet Show revival, with that special potentially. It's Kermit the Frog. I think Kermit, I would definitely bring Kermit back to the Macy's parade. I could see him doing like a performance or something like that, or maybe even once again do I Believe with Camp Broadway or something like that to honor the 2008 parade when they began their Believe campaign they had. But it would also give Matt Vogel's Kermit a chance to perform in the Macy's parade after a few years with the Steve Whitmire Kermit. At number 7, now I do not know if she can sing or not. I have not seen any clips of her performing in a singing voice yet. Or this could just be a normal appearance and just not, just maybe even just an average appearance instead of like a singing appearance. But if you want to have somebody to honor her mother's legacy she had throughout the 90s, I think this would be a great way to bring her daughter a chance to shine in the parade with her mother's iconic character. My number 7 pick, if I would choose to be in the 100th parade, is Mallory Lewis, the daughter of Sherry Lewis, along with her mother's iconic creation, Lamb Chop. I mean, to honor her time throughout the 90s, I think having Sherry Lewis's daughter, Mallory, doing her first Macy's parade with her mother's iconic character that she has ever created, I've been repeating that so many times, too, way to homage that time period of what her mother did, especially with her last parade in 97, months before her death in 98. And I think that would be a way to honor like an element of the 90s of her being an iconic legend throughout that time. And then the number 6 one, this is the one I'm the most stumped on. Between 5 boy bands. Because all these 5 boy bands have iconic moments. And NSYNC is not one of them, by the way. You could almost bring Joey Fatone into the parade or something like that. But you've got New Kids on the Block. I mean, the 89 parade, they were big at the time. Boys to Men, which performed back in, actually the 2 anniversary parades, the 65th anniversary in 91, and the 75th one 25 years ago in 2001, so that's kind of a nice homage. The Backstreet Boys, which they did perform back in 1997, and if they do bring them back for the second time ever, they could do I Want It That Way, or Backstreet's Back, or like a montage of all of some of their iconic songs, like 3 songs or 2, kind of like Shaggy did this past year. 98 Degrees has the most appearances out of these boy bands. They have done 3, 2 Christmas songs and 1 normal song. So they could do another Christmas song again, or one of their non-regular songs they have done. And then the Jonas Brothers. I mean, they did perform 20 years ago, and the following year in 2007, and Nick Jonas did perform solo in 2014. So maybe they can bring the Jonas Brothers back and maybe do like another iconic song or one of their more recent songs. So yeah, it would be kind of a toss-up between New Kids on the Block, Boys to Men, the Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, and the Jonas Brothers. Between one of those 5 bands, we would just depend on their touring schedule of which one would be able to make it. And I just realized I kind of did a little bit of error. It's not a top 8 I've been saying throughout the video. It's actually a top 7. So I do apologize about that. That was kind of my mistake. Because I think it was when I was looking at my form, because with the amount of boy bands I have on the list, so it's actually technically top 7. So 7 is Kermit the Frog, 6 is Mallory, Lewis, and Lamb Chop, 5 is any boy band in general, between New Kids on the Block, Boyz II Men, the Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, or the Jonas Brothers. But the top 4, I hope that these get the top 3 especially, I would say. But the 4th place one, this might be too much of a wishful thinking. Even though obviously it would not be the OG members, and I don't know how their touring schedule would be preventing them to do it when they're, like, I know they're doing a North American tour again this year, but I think depending on, like, if that would prevent their tour in their homeland of Australia, I don't know how that would be. But, I mean, you gotta bring somebody down under to participate in the parade that has done in the past. You already did Kylie Minogue already 2 years ago, so you need somebody else. Why not bring the Wiggles back? I know that I think they are going to be on tour probably maybe around the time, but I would actually, if I would choose to perform, I would hopefully to try to get the Wiggles to perform in the Macy's Parade if I would choose to perform it. Yeah, obviously, the original OG members, obviously 3 of them are now retired, of course, with Greg, Maury, and Jeff. Anthony is still the remaining one, but bring in the current generation of the Wiggles to homage of the original members' time in the parade, especially for Anthony to come back to the parade and maybe do like Hot Potato or something like that, or another one of their iconic hits they have yet to do, like Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car or something like that, because they only had performed twice, even though they made 3 appearances. 25 years ago, they just only appeared on a taxi cab, and then they did Wiggly Party in 2002 and Central Park, New York in 2003. So, like, maybe have them do, like, one of their, like, maybe a montage of, like, 3 of their iconic songs, like Hot Potato, or, Toot Toot Chugga, as I mentioned, Hot Potato, Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car, or any other songs. But it would also give, a lot of the members, that is not Anthony and Paul Paddock, who plays Captain Feathersword, not also their, with Paul's 3rd and Anthony's 4th time in the parade, but get the other members their first experience in the Macy's Parade, like Simon, Lachlan, Sahai, Evie, Katarina, who has been a long-time Wiggly dancer before she became a member, her, Johnny, and Lucia, the latter of which being Anthony's actual real daughter. Like, that would be an amazing family moment to have Anthony and Lucia performing in in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade as a family. That would just be a very heartwarming moment. Now, I know it's already been throughout Lucia's journey, being the new second Blue Wiggle behind her father. But I would just love to see the Wiggles come back. Obviously, it would be the current members, and I would be fine with it, even though I grew up watching the OG Wiggles when I was a kid. But I think having the current members of the Wiggles to represent Australia in the Macy's Parade would be a nice choice. Now, I know I also could have also considered a Latin artist on this list as well, but I haven't really thought of a notable one that hasn't been big, because you have to at least make a little bit more frequent appearances, and you have to be a big standout. I know Bad Bunny is a big one and did perform back in 2018 and is doing the Super Bowl, but I don't think you would not be able to get him now. It would just be a special performance. But I would definitely, if I would choose who to perform the 100th Parade, I would definitely bring the Wiggles back. But the top 3, I think, are the ones that should be in the 100th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. At number 3, he surprised everyone a few years ago, and it became a big thing on YouTube. And probably it was the first legit true Macy's Parade video, I think, that gained over 1 million views before the day Barney was killed. And I'm talking about, of course, when he rickrolled us in the parade back in 2008. My number 3 is Rick Ashley. I think to honor that moment he did, he has to come back. Not to do Never Gonna Give You Up Again or rickroll the parade again. Probably he would do, like, his other big hit was Together Forever or something like that. And, yeah, Together Forever. I would have him come back and do his other big hit, Together Forever. But also to remember everyone that he did that iconic moment back in 2008, but not doing that song again. But obviously, I would definitely bring in Rick Ashley back. Number 2, this one, I hope, depending on her age, she could do it. Because she was frankly appearing throughout, a bit throughout, I think maybe a little bit, I don't know about the 70s or 80s, but definitely a bit in the 90s, 3 times, I believe. And the last time she ever appeared was in 2003. Now, she's currently, currently 86 as of, February, but she will already be 87 by the time the 100th parade occurs. But if they want to bring in a true legend to the parade, like they did with Tony Bennett 10 years ago, and you can even say recent years with Dionne Warwick, I would bring back Judy Collins back to the parade. Hopefully, probably for her last time. Now, I know she is 87. Like I said, she will be 87 by the time we get to Thanksgiving. And, I mean, if Dionne Warwick managed to perform the parade with the age she was at, I could see Judy Collins doing it again. Like, I would bring this legendary recording artist back. Maybe be, maybe the last singing recording artist to perform in the parade. I would have her as the last one before, like, the Rockettes do their finale. Like, I would have her be the last main celebrity in the parade for her legendary status. And maybe, like, doing one of her peaceful songs that she has not done. Like, I mean, I loved her song From a Distance that she did back in 91. Trust Your Heart from 2003. Really, really good. So, like, I would bring this legend back, depending on her health and her age at the moment, if she would be able to perform in the parade for the 100th time. I think she needs to be in that parade to honor for what she has done in her appearances throughout her times and bring her back one more time. And then at number 1, now I kind of mentioned a little bit about how if it would not be Lee Greenwood to honor America's 250th birthday, who would it be? The answer, I pretty much might surprise a lot of you, but it makes the most sense because this guy needs to be in the 100th parade for what he did in the parade 25 years ago. And if you get the reference, you might know what I'm talking about. After what he did when he created probably the greatest moment in the Macy's parade history 25 years ago, when he did that emotional rendition of our country's national anthem, I think if you want to honor America's 250th birthday, and as well as like the birthday for the Statue of Liberty and the 25th anniversary, unfortunately, of the unfortunate events of 9/11, you got to bring this guy back. Not do the national anthem, but definitely his famous rendition that he did that got him big. I am, of course, talking about former New York City police officer Daniel Rodriguez. I think he needs to be in the 100th parade this year to honor that moment he did 25 years ago. And I would say he would do his... And if I would choose what song he would do, I would have him do his rendition of God Bless America that he did at Yankee Stadium during the 2001 MLB World Series and at the opening ceremony of the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. I would have him do his rendition of God Bless America to honor the country's 250th birthday and also to honor that moment he did 25 years ago in honor of the tribute of 9/11. And I think he would be the perfect person to pay tribute to America's birthday and bringing somebody back like him to honor that moment he did 25 years ago. And I think he needs to be in the 100th parade. So if I would get to choose the 3 I want to see the most to get in the Macy's parade for the 100th time, Rick Ashley, Judy Collins, and former New York City police officer Daniel Rodriguez. As well as many artists that I would love to see, like The Wiggles, Valerie Lewis and Lamb Chop, Kermit the Frog, any boy bands you can try to get. I mean, there is a lot of many people that we would love to see. These are a list of artists that if I would choose who to perform in the 100th Macy's Parade, this would kind of be my roster, but not 100% completion. It would depend on the scheduling and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, this is not all like announcements or something like that from them. I don't know anything what's going on. But if I would choose who to perform in the 100th Parade, I would choose any of these artists, and I would be fine with that. If any of them go to be in the 100th Parade, I would be fine with. I kind of repented that so much time. So, yeah, so let's see if any of them would be making it on the list. Hopefully, we'll only have to wait and see until like late October or early November.